Go.
This is a story of peanuts. When Eileen Mooney Evans was a little girl, probably in the range of 8 years, probably 6 to 8 years of age, she had an older brother that was 10 years older and a sister that was 2 years older, so she was the youngest, the pigtailed girl, and they used to call her Peanuts. Well, that name carried over to their a boat that they were going to use for recreational purposes. Bob Sr. decided that his girls would be better off if they would have a place where they could take their friends on the weekend. So they moored a boat and christened it Peanuts on the Chagrin River.
And what year was this?
That year would have been probably in about 1946, 47, 48. It was after the war. That would definitely have been the time period. And so they take the friends of the girls out in the boat. They'd have a nice time. They stayed close to shore. It really was, not an extended boating experience on Lake Erie. That went along fine, but then as the girls approached, actually, I think probably Eileen's sister, Kathy, probably was out of high school at this time. They moved to a place in Euclid, Ohio, right on Lake Erie, a large home that had a boathouse. And they moved Peanuts to the boathouse. In the meantime, they fiberglass Peanuts, so I guess it was possibly a concern of being in rougher water, or it was probably also technology that had come on. It just seemed like a good idea to fiberglass a boat. But then, while it caused it to be a little more stable, it probably sat a little better in the water. It also increased its weight, in my judgment, probably up around 400 pounds. Now, technically, the boat house would have had the boat on the water and there would have been no problem, but that's not how it worked. Lake Erie lost its the height, the elevation of Lake Erie went way down, and there was probably a 100-foot beach at least between the boathouse and the water. And of course, I wasn't really familiar with the boating experiences in the Mooney family, but when I would go down with my family, everybody wanted to repeat the Peanuts experience. And so we were asked to haul the boat from the boathouse that was no longer on the water or in the water to the lake. And it would be led, it would take several quote unquote men. Bob Sr. had had heart trouble, would be at the bow of the boat. His son, Robert Jr., and myself would be on the aft end of the boat, and everybody would have to be push, tug, like Ben-Hur experience. And then we would get the boat in the water. And when we have a short time in the water, and then everybody said we've got to put the boat back in the boathouse. And of course, we had to repeat the experience. And I have now been reminded.
The boathouse was about 12 feet above the lake at that point in time?
At least 12 feet above the lake, plus a long stretch of, so you were not only going over an extended beach, but you were going uphill. Going down wasn't too bad, but then you had to bring the boat back uphill into the boathouse, which again presented a double problem. Everybody was worn out from doing the boating, and then we'd have to get the boat back. And it was always a very interesting experience. In my judgment, the boating experience with Peanuts never was worth the effort that we would put into it. Just some asides. Bob reminds me that the boat movement experience wasn't too bad because in time they figured out that you could put rollers. I don't know if they just put logs or what, but they used the ancient methods of the Egyptians to hoist the boat back and forth. But then as a further sidelight, we are now on the shores of the Cass Lake here in Michigan, and we have a boat that is now, I think, designated. It was first More Peanuts, and now it's More and More Peanuts. So we have gone through 3 boats. The present More and More Peanuts is never hauled up, it's hauled out by professionals. And that's the end of the Peanut story.